The call came at 2:17 a.m., slicing through the quiet like a blade. The phone vibrated on the chipped wooden nightstand beside a man who hadn't slept properly in years, not since life taught him how fragile everything was. One missed call, then another, and then a voicemail, short and trembling, from a voice that sounded like it was standing at the edge of forever. 3 words, barely breathing, barely alive: stay with me tonight. Before the story pulls you deeper into that night and what it changed forever, take a moment. If you believe in kindness when the world feels cruel, in second chances when life feels finished, then like this video, comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this remind us why humanity still matters. Ethan Cole stared at the phone long after the screen went dark. He was a single dad who measured his life in overdue bills, packed lunches, and the soft rise and fall of his 8-year-old daughter sleeping in the next room. The voicemail wasn't meant for him. He knew that. The number was unknown, the voice refined yet broken, like someone who once had everything and was now losing it piece by piece. Most people would have ignored it. Ethan almost did, but something in the way the words were spoken, slow, afraid, final, made his chest tighten. He listened again, and again. He thought of the nights he'd begged the universe to let his wife stay just a little longer in that hospital bed, how no amount of money or prayers had stopped the machines from going quiet. He remembered how loneliness could feel louder than pain. Without fully understanding why, Ethan pressed call back. The line connected immediately, as if the other phone had been waiting. What followed wasn't a conversation so much as a collapse. The woman on the other end didn't ask who he was. She didn't explain the mistake. She just breathed, uneven and shallow, and said she was scared. That the doctors had given her weeks, maybe days. That her assistant was gone, her family estranged, and the man she meant to call never answered anymore. She said the house felt too big, the walls too quiet, and she didn't want to die alone tonight. Ethan sat on the edge of his bed, heart pounding. He thought of his daughter. He thought of the early shift at the warehouse. He thought of how dangerous it was to get involved in someone else's tragedy. But he also thought of what it felt like to beg the dark for company and hear nothing back. Against reason, against fear, he asked where she was. The mansion sat on a cliff overlooking the ocean, all glass and steel and lights that should have felt warm but didn't. Ethan had seen places like this only on screens, worlds built for people whose worries were nothing like his. Security tried to stop him at the gate until a shaky confirmation came through the intercom. Inside, the silence was enormous. He followed the sound of a television playing to no one until he found her. Lena Whitmore, the billionaire heiress whose name filled business magazines and charity galas, looked nothing like the polished photos. She was smaller, paler, wrapped in a blanket that couldn't seem to keep her warm. Tubes ran from her arms, and a medical monitor blinked softly beside her, counting time she didn't have. Her eyes, sharp even through exhaustion, searched his face not with suspicion but with relief. Ethan didn't know what to do. He wasn't a doctor. He wasn't family. He was just a man who answered a call by mistake. So he did the only thing he could. He sat down. He stayed. Hours passed measured by stories instead of minutes. Lena talked about a childhood raised by nannies, about boardrooms she conquered before she learned how to trust, about a fortune that grew larger as her circle grew smaller. Ethan talked about scraped knees, bedtime stories, and how love could leave a hole so deep it changed the shape of your days. The ocean roared outside like it was trying to remind them that time never waits. The challenge wasn't just the ticking clock. It was the invisible wall between them. She was everything he wasn't: wealthy, powerful, famous. He was tired, broke, and anonymous. Yet in that room, stripped of titles and balance sheets, they were just two people holding onto words because silence felt too close to goodbye. Over the next days, Ethan kept coming back. He arranged care for his daughter with a neighbor, took unpaid leave he couldn't afford, and drove the long road to the cliffside house again and again. Lena's condition worsened, but her spirit softened. She laughed more. She listened. For the first time in years, she let herself need someone without a contract attached. But life doesn't hand out miracles without resistance. Lena's lawyers questioned Ethan's presence. Nurses whispered. Rumors started, as they always do when money and mortality share a room. Ethan considered walking away, convinced he was doing more harm than good. The fear of being accused, judged, or misunderstood weighed heavily on him. Yet every time he tried to step back, Lena's eyes found him, silently asking him to stay. One night, as rain lashed against the windows, Lena confessed her greatest regret wasn't dying. It was never letting herself be ordinary. Never learning how to sit with someone without needing to impress them or control the outcome. She said Ethan's presence made her feel human again, not like a legacy waiting to be divided. Ethan struggled with his own doubts. He questioned whether he was replacing something that shouldn't be replaced, whether he was betraying the memory of his wife by caring so deeply for another person. But grief, he learned, doesn't demand loyalty to pain. It asks for honesty. And his honesty was simple: he didn't want anyone to face the end alone. As Lena's strength faded, the house filled with a quiet reverence. One evening, she asked Ethan to read to her. Not a financial report, not a headline, but a children's book he brought from home. His voice wavered at first, then steadied. The words about bravery and hope floated through the room, and for a moment, the mansion felt like a home. In her final days, Lena made decisions that surprised everyone. She reconnected with charities she once funded for publicity, now for purpose. She recorded messages, not about wealth, but about kindness. And quietly, without spectacle, she ensured that Ethan's life would change, not as payment but as continuation. The night she passed, Ethan was there. Not as a savior, not as a beneficiary, but as a witness. He held her hand as the machine slowed, as the ocean kept roaring, as a woman who had owned so much finally let go of everything except the comfort of not being alone. Grief returned to Ethan like an old ache, but it felt different this time. Less sharp, more meaningful. In the weeks that followed, the world learned about the mysterious man who stayed. Speculation ran wild, but Ethan remained quiet. He went back to his daughter, back to school runs and dinner dishes, carrying a story he didn't know how to explain. Then came the letter. Lena had written it herself, her handwriting unsteady but determined. She thanked him not for staying, but for seeing her. She reminded him that kindness doesn't need permission or wealth. And she left him enough to secure his daughter's future, with one condition written in simple words: use this to live, not to hide. Ethan didn't become famous. He didn't move into the mansion. He paid off debts, took time to heal, and eventually started a small foundation focused on companionship for the terminally ill, people whose biggest fear wasn't death, but dying unseen. If this story has reached something tender inside you, if it reminded you of someone you've lost or someone you should call tonight, please take a moment to like the video, share it, and subscribe. Your engagement helps stories like this reach hearts that need them. And before the ending, I ask you one special thing. Comment below with a single word: stay, if you believe no one should face their final moments alone. Ethan still keeps his phone on the nightstand. Sometimes it rings with ordinary things. Sometimes it doesn't ring at all. But every time it lights up, he remembers that one call, the wrong number that became the right moment, and how showing up can matter more than having all the answers. And somewhere between grief and grace, he learned that staying, truly staying, can change a life, even at the very end.